Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to be here today. And what an awesome way to start this morning in prayer. My subject matter today is titled One Touch. One Touch, or Touch It Once. And this came about, this material came about by an individual who is a New York Times bestseller author, an entrepreneur named Kevin Cruz. And he also started several multi-million-dollar companies. And in Forbes magazine, he wrote an article titled 15 Things That Highly Successful People Do Differently. 15 things that highly successful people do differently. He received these 15 things because, as he tells the story, he went and he interviewed over 200 highly successful people. He interviewed 7 billionaires, Olympians, over 200 entrepreneurs that were highly successful in their field and in their profession. And he took all his findings by asking them the question, what is it that you do that makes you highly successful in what you do? He took these 15 points, and from those 15 points, I'm going to just touch on one called the One Touch, or Touch It Once. Anybody busy out there in life, in ministry? The answer should be yes, or probably is yes for each and every one of us being in the gospel. And what are we going to do to raise the bar of efficiency in our lives? It is said that every given day we have 1,440 minutes for every given day. 1,440 minutes. The question is, how are we going to protect those minutes? Guard those minutes. Because as you know, those minutes fill up very, very fast on our calendars, on our schedules, and all the events that we have going on. Therefore, Kevin Cruz put together this thought and these 15 points, and this is about the Touch It Once. John Maxwell said efficiency is a foundation for survival. Effectiveness is a foundation for success. One thing for sure, we want to be efficient, but I know we all in the room want to be successful. For God, for the why, as we heard so greatly this week. And so when you think about it, on any given day, how many texts do you receive? How many emails do you receive? How many phone calls do you receive? How many interruptions do you get in life? How many things come to try to take those 1,440 minutes in your any given day? What is the answer? How do we raise that bar of efficiency? This is one of the things we need to do. We need to focus on the task at hand. Think about it. When you get a text and you look at it, do you respond to that text right away, or do you say, I'm going to do that later? When you get an email, how many times you say, that's very important. I need to email that person back. Tomorrow morning, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Right. That's the first thing on my to-do list. It's tomorrow. I'm going to do it. You get a phone call, and you know that that person is calling because it's something maybe you talked about already before, and you look at it and you say, right now I can't do it. I'm going to call him back later. Right. And you may, and hopefully you do, but how many have found out that sometimes you forget? Right. Or it's not so much that you forgot, but something came and interrupted those 1,440 minutes, and you got really busy, and you thought, you're laying in bed, and it's 11:45 at night, and the light bulb goes on, and you said, I didn't call Billy back. Right. I'm going to hear this first thing in the morning at 7 a.m. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? We're all there. We're all there. And so Kevin Cruz put together this point that highly successful people do. It's simple, but it's very effective. It's touching it once. Touching it once. So making the touch it once, how do we become more effective in our daily lives and doing the work of God and doing all that we do on any given day, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, it all applies to us. We're people and we're busy. Is making the touch it once principle a habit in your life. It must be a habit if it's going to work. Does it work? Yes, it works. But it must be a habit. And so I'm going to break it down in just a moment and tell you next what the key is to touching it once. To make it a habit, basically, you have to be focused when you receive a text or a phone call or an email, or there's a task at hand that you're focusing on, you have to ask yourself the question, can I do this right now? Because everything in you is going to tell you to do it later. Now, some of you in the room are just the personality that everything's organized all the time. But I'm not going to say that everybody rolls that way.
Right.
Some people work a little harder to do what comes natural to you. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
And so, making the touch it once a habit in your life means that you have to think about it. And it will, as you make it a habit, it will challenge you to do what you need to do, and it will help in your life. So, this is the T-idle or the touch it once principle. This is how to make it a habit in your life. How do you focus on where do I begin? This is where you do it. If you can do it within 5 minutes, do it now. Now, many of you already do this, but some of you would like to do this. So this is how you do this. If you can do it within 5 minutes, do it now. Let me give you a prime example that happens to all of us all the time. I was talking to somebody about the kingdom business, talking about the why, and scheduling a calendar date. A lot of times what we do when we schedule calendar dates is like this. Hey, brother, I'd like for you to come preach for me. Okay, that sounds great. I'd like to do that. Good, because I'd like you to do that. Okay. So after conference, I'll call you, and we'll get together. We'll schedule me coming to preach for you. And that's a lot of what we do. Or, hey, tomorrow I'm going to see you at district conference. You going to be there? Yes, you're going to be there. So tomorrow, why don't I connect with you? We're going to do this. And when you go home, guess what?
Didn't happen.
Everything in the world happens, and you're thinking about your message on the way home on Saturday night from conference, and you don't call the guy till 3 weeks later, or you forget altogether. And if you don't call you, you don't call him. It never happens in the first place.
Right.
And so to touch it once, prime example, yesterday I had this conversation with someone right here, just right here. Hey, would you come and preach for me on this and talk about, look, church plans we've got going? I said, absolutely. And as I was talking, because I'm trying to form this habit, I've been trying to form this for 5 months, by the way. So only 5 months ago I started. I'm being honest. Now, it doesn't mean I didn't want to do this 20 years ago. But actually thinking about it, where you actually consciously say, can I do this in 5 minutes, takes practice.
That's right.
And so 5 months ago, I said, I'm going to do this. And so I really started focusing on it. So down here, yesterday we had this talk, and then I said, I can do this in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's calendar this right now. Is that okay? Absolutely. We calendared right now. It was done. I don't have to worry about going home and forgetting. It's a good thing. Okay? And so that's the key, is that if you can do it within 5 minutes, do it now. You know what stresses us out sometimes? It's not always the big things. Doesn't the Bible say the little fox spoils the vine?
Right.
It's that little phone call I know that I need to make. It's very important, but I don't have time to make it because I didn't make it in the 5 minutes that I could have made it. So now it rolls over to Wednesday, and now it rolls over to Thursday. And then Friday, I'm in a very important meeting, and I get a text that I need to make that phone call, and now I'm a little stressed. Yeah. And the way to curve that is if you can touch it once in 5 minutes, do it now. Now, if you're asking me, if you're thinking, is this secure? Are you not busy anymore? I wish I could say I wasn't busy. But I can say this. I'm a lot less stressed.
Hallelujah.
I'm a lot less stressed.
That's good.
John Wooden said this, and I close. If you don't have the time to do it right, when will you have the time to do it over? Touch it once, it will help your life.